This is something that I wished would have stayed in the movie. It made so much sense, and it actually gets people to think.
Human, have you ever been to hell? I think not. Did you know that once hell was nothing more than the absence of God? And if you'd ever been in his presence, then you'd realize that's punishment enough. But then your kind came along and made it so much worse.
Humans aren't capable of 100th the evil a shitbag demon like you is.
Evil is an abstract! It's a human construct! But true to his irresponsible nature, man won't own up to being its engineer, so he blames his dark deeds on my ilk. But it's not enough to shadow his own existence. No, he turned hell into a suffering pit. And why? Because it is beyond your abilities to simply make personal recompense for the sins you commit. No, you choose rather to create a psychodrama and dwell in a phallus belief that God can never forgive your grievous offenses. So you bring your guilt and your inner decay with you to hell, where the horrid imaginations of so many gluttons for punishment gave birth to the sickness that has infected the abyss since the first one of your kind arrived there, begging to be punished. And in doing so, they transformed the cold and solitude to pain and misery. I've spent eons privy to the flames, inhaling the decay, hearing the wail of the damned. I know what effect such horrors have on the delicate psyche of an angelic.
Hello, everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. The whole programming or mind conditioning that religion has put upon us when it comes to the idea of, sin, what's considered immoral according from their standards, from their so-called way of thinking and mind conditioning, as far as I would actually go, as far as I call it. But the whole doctrine, the way it's being taught to us about what's considered good or evil, what's considered good behavior and bad behavior. Now, I don't believe in heaven and hell like I used to, or purgatory. At one point I used to believe in that, but not anymore. Not only do they not exist, but heaven or hell is really up here. It's not out there. It's not in some other realm. It's actually in here. So if you die with anger, bitterness, there's a very good chance you'll end up in your own type of psychological drama of all that negativity, and then you'll end up being in some kind of hellish dimension. All because of your own programming, your own thinking, the way you've been taught to believe. Now, an atheist doesn't have any problem with it. Of course, if they did something that was really bad and they felt guilty about it and they're on their deathbed or something like that, and they still don't believe in heaven and hell, there's a very good chance that that he's not going to actually experience that. Again, that's just an opinion, because I already explained about what happens when you die, and it makes the most sense, but then again, not everybody is going to believe it. About the whole idea that souls are recycled because of the person's programming about seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and if you and don't bother to turn around to see what's behind you, because if there's a heaven, then there's a hell. So you're already programmed into thinking, I want to go to heaven. And then you start seeing relatives of dead people that died before you, aunts, uncles, parents, siblings, or friends, anybody that you were close to. And then they just lure you into it only to believe that you're actually going to heaven, but in reality, your soul is being caught in a recycling system. And then you end up being reincarnated and going back to Earth into the womb of another woman, another mother, and she gives birth to you. All your memories are wiped out of who you were in the past, in your past life, and the one before that, and the one before that, and so on and so on. So because of that, you have no memory, and then you start this new life as whoever you are, and that kind of programming is what ends up making you get caught in this reincarnation system, where your soul is actually recycled. And if you bother to turn around to see what's behind you, what you'll see instead is the entire universe, because that's where you came from to begin with. We are starlight. Our soul is the universe. That's what God really is. So for both, I gave an example of that in a recent video. Now, in that clip that you saw, that deleted scene, which again, they should have left it in there. When people are conditioned to believe that you're not going to get forgiven, you're going to get punished, God or Jesus is going to punish you for all the really fucked up things you did, and then when you do die, being extremely fearful that you're going to be judged, that's where the perpetrators who orchestrated the whole heaven and hell thing will take advantage of it. And then you end up in some kind of hellish dimension, because it's just a psychodrama. That's all it is, a psychodrama. And then you end up being, suffering and this and that, because you actually believed, caused by the way you were brought up, caused, the whole brainwashing idea of hell, the whole idea of it. If you do this, you're gonna end up going to hell. You're gonna suffer. And the demons are doing this to you, and all this type of torment. And then you end up creating that in your own mind. You create that in your own mind, and then after they have their fun with you, then your soul gets recycled again, because it's their way of extracting energy from you. And the ones that are orchestrating all this whole deception are a group of sinister aliens. And I'm sorry to say this, but which is the same ones that I talked about in my earlier video about what my grandparents were worshiping. Now, the aliens that they were worshiping were, because I didn't mention it, I said they were part of a Pacific alien race. I was just a little bit hesitant to talk about it, to mention who they are, who they were actually worshiping. And they were worshiping an alien race known as the Anunnaki. Those are the ones that my grandparents were worshiping in this Masonic order. So for those of you who haven't seen it, I advise you see that video. Now, they are the ones that are orchestrating the whole thing, along with the Greys, the alien Greys, a specific group, because not all Greys are evil. Not all of them are evil, just some of them. And they're working in cahoots. Now, again, you create a psychodrama believing that you're gonna end up in some kind of hellish dimension, and that's what ends up happening. We can, before we die, we can make amends. We can cleanse all our negativity out of us. But religion doesn't allow that. They think that you need to go to Christ, you need to ask for His forgiveness, and and just give all your heart, your soul, your energy into this motherfucking bullshit, just so they can actually entrap you. Again, you don't have to believe this. I'm not saying you better believe this. I wouldn't say that. Again, this is just my opinion. You can believe whatever you want. It's fine. That's the conclusion that I came to, and that's one of the big main reasons why I don't believe in God or Christianity like I used to anymore. It does make sense, this part from Dogma, and I just want to know what the rest of you think, because heaven and hell is actually all up here. You create your own heaven, you create your own hell. It's all psychological, and that's what's the thing that tows your soul, that pulls it towards contentment and happiness, or it could be pulled away and towards misery and darkness because of the way you were programmed to believe. By a doctrine, a teaching. That's all it is. And we're not supposed to be questioning that, which is another form of, I think, of fascism, if you really think about it. And I explained that already in a recent video that I did on that. So basically, that's what it means, and hopefully it makes sense to you. But again, you don't necessarily have to believe it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments, you know what to do. And this is Dare to Speak. And to all of you, take care.